The dry season scorched the African savanna, leaving the earth cracked and lifeless. The rivers had vanished, and the grass turned to brittle ash beneath the sun. Among the silence, a mother lion walked slowly, her ribs visible under her fur. At her side stumbled a small cub, weak, hungry, and barely clinging to life. 4 days, they had wandered across endless plains, searching for water. The mother's paws were raw and bleeding from the burning sand. Each night, the temperature dropped to freezing, stealing what little warmth remained. Still, she wrapped her body around her cub, shielding him from the wind. The cub whimpered softly, nudging her belly for milk that was no longer there. The lioness licked his forehead, her tongue dry and trembling. Above them, vultures circled like shadows of fate, waiting for their fall. But even on the edge of death, she would not surrender. At dawn, they reached a small patch of shade beside a dying tree. The cub collapsed, his breathing shallow, eyes glazed with fatigue. The lioness nudged him gently, urging him to rise one more time. But his small body trembled and fell again into the dust. A road stretched nearby, shimmering with heat under the midday sun. In the distance, the faint sound of an engine broke the silence. A young man on a motorbike approached, wiping sweat from his brow. What he saw made his blood run cold. At first, he thought they were stray dogs, lost and starved. But as he drew closer, the truth revealed itself in their golden fur. A lioness and her cub, dying by the roadside, too weak to move. His heart raced, torn between fear and pity. He parked his bike and stood still, afraid to make a sound. The lioness lifted her head slightly, eyes glazed yet aware. Their gazes met, predator and man, bound by the same desperation. He slowly reached for his phone to call the rangers. His fingers trembled as he sent the location to the nearest wildlife team. "Please," he whispered. "Hurry." The wind carried his words across the dry field like a prayer. Then he stepped back, keeping his distance but refusing to leave. Within 20 minutes, a ranger truck appeared on the horizon. 2 men jumped out, Joseph and Kagiso, veterans of the Savanna. They approached carefully, scanning for signs of aggression. But all they saw was exhaustion and fading hope. Joseph loaded a tranquilizer dart into his rifle. He moved quietly, his every step deliberate and calm. The lioness growled faintly, but there was no strength behind the sound. The dart struck softly, and she lowered her head into the dust. Kagiso rushed forward, wrapping the cub in a soft blanket. Its tiny chest rose and fell rapidly, fighting for air. He lifted it gently, feeling the frail heartbeat beneath the fur. "Still alive," he muttered. "Let's move." The men carried the pair into separate cages at the back of the truck. They covered the cages with a tarp to block the relentless heat. The engine roared as the truck sped down the red dirt road. Every bump and jolt felt like a race against time. When they arrived at the ranger station, the medical team was ready. Veterinarians rushed forward with 4 lines, fluids, and sedatives. The lioness lay motionless on the table, her pulse faint. Beside her, the cub whimpered weakly in his cage. Hours passed in tense silence as the team worked to stabilize them. Saline dripped slowly into their veins, reviving life drop by drop. The cub twitched once, a faint spark of strength returning. Everyone froze, hope had not yet died. By nightfall, the mother opened her eyes, dazed but alive. Her gaze turned immediately toward her cub's cage. When she saw him breathing, she exhaled softly, almost in relief. The rangers exchanged glances. They had done it. For 3 days, the mother refused food, staying close to her cub. She would not rest until he gained strength again. The veterinarians fed the cub milk through a syringe every few hours. Slowly, his tiny roars began to echo through the clinic. By the end of the week, both lions were strong enough to stand. The cub began playing clumsily inside his enclosure. The mother's fur regained its golden sheen under the morning light. Every movement spoke of resilience and survival. The bond between them grew stronger each day. The cub never left his mother's side, even during treatment. The staff called them the miracle pair. And soon, everyone at the reserve knew their story. A month passed, and the rains finally returned to the savanna. The cracked earth darkened with life once more. Grass sprouted in soft green patches across the plains. It was time to bring them home. The rangers prepared the transport truck early in the morning. The lioness stepped calmly into her cage, no longer afraid. Her cub followed eagerly, his golden eyes full of curiosity. They were going back where they belonged. The journey was long but peaceful, the air fresh with rain. The savanna stretched endlessly beneath a glowing sky. When the truck stopped, both lions stood alert. They could sense home before seeing it. The door swung open, revealing the wide open grasslands. The lioness stepped out first, sniffing the wet air deeply. Her cub stumbled after her, slipping slightly in the soft mud. And then, they both stood, free once more. The rangers watched silently, moved beyond words. The cub rubbed against his mother's neck lovingly. The lioness turned and gave one long look at the men. A silent thank you passed between them. The lions began to walk away, their paws leaving faint tracks. The wind carried the scent of wet earth and renewal. Their silhouettes shimmered beneath the golden afternoon sun. The savanna had come alive again. Joseph lowered his camera, eyes still glistening. Kagiso smiled faintly, resting a hand on his shoulder. "They'll make it," he said softly. "They're home now." Rain began to fall lightly, dust turning into cool mud. The rangers stood under the open sky, drenched and grateful. Nature, once cruel, now offered its gentle forgiveness. It felt like the world had started over. The truck's engine rumbled quietly as they drove away. Behind them, the lions vanished into the tall grass. The horizon glowed with the last light of day. Their mission was complete. At the station that night, the team gathered in silence. Photos of the rescue played on a small screen. No words were needed, the images spoke for themselves. Everyone knew they had witnessed something rare. Weeks later, motion cameras caught a glimpse of two lions, a mother and her cub, hunting together under the stars. Healthy, strong, and free once again. Proof that compassion leaves a lasting mark. And as the rains continued to bless the savanna, life returned. Every creature found balance in the circle once more. The mother and cub disappeared into legend, symbols of hope. And somewhere in the wild, their roars still echoed with gratitude.